Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time being here, thank you so much for stopping by and thank you for clicking on this video. Today I'll be showing you how I made the template for this shirt that I am wearing. Now this shirt is a layered rhinestone shirt. If you look at that, you see how beautiful it is. And I made the template in Silhouette Studio. Now this is the template that I made, and I would like to take you on the journey of how to make it. So the only materials you'll need in this part of the video, because this video is going to be two parts. If I did the video in just one part, it would be too long, so I cut the video in two. So this is part one of this video, just working in Silhouette Studio to get this template. Now if that is something you're interested in, then let's get to Silhouette Studio and I'll show you how it is done. Okay guys, we are in Silhouette Studios Business Edition. To do this project, you will have to have the Business Edition. Now, the first thing I am going to do, I'm going to write the text that I need. I'm going to go over here where it says, you see this A, this capital A, it's the text. I'm going to click on it, then I'm going to click on my board, my canvas right here. And I'm going to type the word blessed in all caps. Okay, when I do that, I am going to go over here to the fill panel right here where it's you see this little board like a coloring thing. And you're going to click on it. I'm going to change it to a black. Okay, I'm going to change it to black, sure that it's checked. I'm going to change it to black. And you could, I'm going to go to the line style panel, and I'm going to change that, take off the line from around it. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to size my design. Now, this is not the size that I'm going to use. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger for you to see what I'm doing. I want my design to be around 11 inches. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on my image and I'm going to go over here to the text style panel, and I'm going to change this text to one that is called favor. Okay, it is a bold font, and when you're doing projects like these, you'll want to do bold fonts. So before I size my design, what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click and I'm going to ungroup. Then I'm going to right click again and group it back. What that does is that it brings the letters closer to each other. Now, before I size it, what I usually find when I'm designing is that if I should go ahead and put the rhinestones around the words when they're so close, then it's going to be jumbled on each other. So before I start adding rhinestones to anything, I go ahead and I ungroup and I separate the words. I make them further apart from each other. So I'm just using my arrow key to make it easy for me. I'm taking that S from off the S. Just, just to give them enough space. Okay. I'll bring it over. Okay, I think this is okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna group it back. Now, when you group it back, now it's telling me that this is 10.470. I want it to be around 11 inches. So that is okay. and I want the height to be about 3.5 inches, or and that is okay. You'll want to go ahead and come and decide what size you're going to use before you do anything, because when you put these rhinestones in, you don't want to go and distort the size, okay, and go ahead changing the size. That will just throw your projects off. So decide on your size and just commit to it. Now when I do that, what I'm going to do is I am going to go over here where you see the star, and I'm going to put an inset in this letter. So instead of an offset, I'm going to use the inset, okay? So the internal offset, that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to take my view up a little bit because I wanted you to see what is happening here. So if you notice, you see this red line in between it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change that color to purple. And the line that is around it, I'm going to take it off. So this, you could do it here, over here, or you could do it up here. So I'm going to take off that line. The next thing I'm going to do without touching anything, I am going to go ahead and group the purple letters together. So I'm going to click on that purple letter, because what you'll know is that it is ungrouped. I'm going to do my shift key. I'm going to click on the L, the E, the S, the S, the E, the D. And I'm constantly checking to see if the color change here, okay? And then I'm gonna right click and group. Okay, next thing I am going to do, let me take my size up a little, oops. Let me undo that. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to add my rhinestones. So my rhinestone, you could go up here where it says panels and go down. You see rhinestones here. Or I have mine somewhere over here, so I always open it and click it. So for the black layer, which is selected, if you notice here, if you go up here, you see what is selected. The black layer is selected. I just want it to have an edge, okay? So let me click off, undo. Let me undo. And I'm going to click on my black, okay? Ensure that the black is selected. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put an edge around this. Now this looks okay. However, I'm going to, now you'll decide which stones you wanna use. You wanna use the 6SS. If you use the 6SS, this is what it's gonna look like. If you use the 10SS, which are the biggest stones, this is what it's gonna look like. I'm going to go for the 10SS, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my spacing. This is the spacing now. I'm going to change it. It's going to default to 0.039, but I don't want it to be so far, so I'm going to change it to 0.025, and I'm going to press enter. Okay, that looks okay. That looks amazing. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the purple. I know that my purple is selected because up here it turned purple. And instead of using the edge, the one for the edge, I'm going to see what linear fill looks like. So I'm going to click on the linear fill, and this is what it is going to look like with the linear fill. Let me take it up a little bit more for you to see. Let's see what it is gonna look like with the radial fill. You'll notice with the radial fill, we're gonna have a lot more work to do because we'll have to manually fill in these little slots right there. So I'm going to go for the linear fill. And the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change the spacing to a 0.20. Let's see what that looks like. And that looks much better than the 0.25. But what I want you to notice with this is that the rhinestones are actually touching each other. If you look at this one right here, it's touching the black. You don't want that. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to release the rhinestones and move them away from each other so that they're not touching the edge and they have their own individual space. Because when the Cricut cuts this out, what you're going to find is that you're going to have some giant holes in your flock, and you don't want that. So you'll have to move these stones around. And trust me, this is where the work comes in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to do the bee, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them, and then I'll show you. So what you're going to do with your the inner piece selected, which is the purple, you're going to release rhinestones, and you're going to see what happens when you release those rhinestones. So when you release these rhinestones, you see that each of the rhinestones has a box around them. It's just telling you that they are released. So all you have to do now is go around and go ahead and adjust the rhinestones so that they're not touching each other. So I'm gonna start with the B, and the best key to use is the arrow key, because let me bring it up closer for you to see, is the arrow key, because it will help you to get them perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one, then I'm gonna do the rest, and then I'll show you what to do next. The zoom will help you to see them better. So zoom up as much as you can. Okay, the B looks okay. Looks like we don't have any stones touching each other. And that's what we want. So what I'm gonna do, let me zoom down a bit. Let me just ungroup everything so that as we do it, um, we could do each of them. So I'm gonna ungroup, okay? All right. Now, since we are okay with the B, everything, I'm going to just group these so that they don't move. All right. So that's grouped. So now we could go ahead and work on the L. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead because I don't want to bore you. I'm gonna go ahead and finish moving these stones around. Remember, when you're doing yours, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to move the stones out away from each other, and then I'm going to just group back each of the letters, and then afterwards I'm done. I'm gonna come back and show you what else to do. Okay guys, so I did went ahead and I adjusted my stones. I'm gonna show you what they look like. If you notice, they are not touching each other anymore. They are, I also went ahead and I added stones where I thought needed some stones. And I think this is okay. I could have put a stone right here. So to get a stone, what you could do, you could click on, or to get stones, you could click on one of the stones and you're gonna press Control C, then Control V, and you'll notice that another stone came up right here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to put a stone right here. Okay, so you see it right there. Okay, so I'm gonna put one more here also. I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna put it here. And I think that that looks better. Okay, so now that I'm finished with this, what I'm gonna do, I will have to go ahead and group them back in their corresponding areas. So I ungrouped everything. So now everything is ungrouped. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to click on my black. I'm gonna hold Shift, click on the black in the L, click on the black in the E, click on the black in the S, click on the black in the other S, the E, and the D. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna left click and I'm gonna press group. Okay, so I'm gonna take this down a little bit for you to see what I'm doing. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to move it out of place. Okay, and then I'm going to select all the stones of the purple and I am going to group it. I'm gonna right click and press group. Okay, so now this is what we're gonna have. We can always go back and put it back where it's supposed to go. Okay, all right, so there you have it. Now what we're gonna do, in order for us to cut this in Cricut Design Space, we are going to first find out the size of this. Let's see if everything is grouped. Oh, oops. So you see that some of them weren't grouped together. Let me go back. Let me go back, go back, go back, go back. And I'm gonna group them back again. Everything was not grouped together. So you have to be careful. I'm gonna group again. All right, so let's check. Okay, so now everything is grouped. We could put those back together. All right, so now that we put this back together, this is what it's gonna look like. What we're gonna do is we're going to check the size of this design. So let's make it first in a compound path, and then we are gonna check the designs. Check the size because we're gonna need the size in order to do it in Cricut Design Space. So what I'm gonna do for the black layer, I'm going to make it right click and make it a compound path. Let me go back. Okay, so I'm gonna make it a compound path. And when that happens, what I usually do, I just go ahead and do back my rhinestones and change the size. Okay, so this is what we have when we make it into a compound path. You will have to do that in order for it to the layers to be recognized in Cricut Design Space. So what I'm gonna do, I am going to change back the color. So what the compound path does, you could look and to see if there are any stones that are touching each other or overlapping. This is a good way to check. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna make it back into the correct color, and I'm gonna take off the line that's there. Okay, so this is already a compound path. we're gonna do the same thing for the purple layer. I'm going to select everything. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna make it a compound path. So when you make it a compound path, go ahead and look at it to see if there are any stones touching each other. It might look close to each other, but as long as they're not touching each other, look at this one right here. It looks very close, but it is not like it's touching each other. Okay? See? They're not touching each other. So that's what you want. So I'm gonna go back down and I am going to go back here. I'm gonna change it to the color purple and I'm gonna take off the lines from around it. Okay, so now that we have this is ready to be cut out. Okay, so this is what we're gonna have. And what we're gonna do is we are going to see how the measurements, we're gonna look at the measurements now. So the measurements that we have for this is 10.978 by, and the height is 3.425. Okay, ensure that you know that measurement, because if you don't know that measurement, then when you bring it into Cricut Design Space, then it's not going to cut correctly when you're using your Cricut. Okay, so ensure that you know what that measurement is. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna group these two together, and then that's what we have. I'm gonna show you how to save it as an SVG file. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna group. Okay, so when I group it, you look up here, you see the measurement 10.978 by 3.425. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna go over here, press file, you're gonna do save selection. Save selection, you're gonna save it to your hard drive. Okay, I'm going to save it. I am blessed to, and I'm gonna save it as a SVG. You will have to save it as an SVG to get it uploaded in Cricut Design Space. So I'm gonna press OK. All right, so I'm gonna show you what it looks like when you upload it in Cricut Design Space. Okay guys, so I hope that you were able to follow along with what I was doing in Silhouette Studio. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comment section and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Until we meet again, I'll see you soon. Bye.